Welcome back. This is Am I Mental, a mental health podcast that we do live every Thursday at 6. I am your host, E. With us, as always, is our co-host, Bexy. Bexy, you want to say hi?
Hi. Hello.
So I had to do some reinstalling, so the disclaimer is missing. So I'm just going to quote briefly. This is adult content. The stuff that we talk about can be very triggering, so be warned. The chat room is a privilege. We are not asking you to agree with everything, but we are asking that you remain civil and no personal attacks. And listener discretion be advised. And before we introduce the guest, we got to do a little bit of, paying the bills. So by all means, if you love our show, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it on Facebook, share it wherever. Give us a like, give us a follow. And if you want to help us out further, you can also go to mimental.net/donate. There are a number of ways to donate, and now we also have a Teespring store on that same page, allowing you to go ahead and buy some merchandise. So go ahead and get yourself some swag. I deliberately went below the prices that they've recommended, so we're not making very much off of them, because it was clear that people want this stuff, like the T-shirts and masks and stuff. So I'm doing what I can to help make sure that we get it to you at a good price. And of course, got to give a shout out to Rachel Conway of Genuine Psychological Services down in San Diego. If you need a therapist, by all means, reach out to her. I would use her if she wasn't a friend of mine. There's a big problem with, doing that with friends. But by all means, reach out to her. She could definitely help you out. And with all that said, we have Ray.
Hello, how you doing?
All right, so far...
It's good to have you on the show.
Yes, and we already have 3 people in the chat saying hi to everyone. Kat, Devern, and Brandy. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, what we're talking about. Let's get this show on the road.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I love telling my story. I am. My name's Ray, like we introduced, and I have a condition called familial hypercholesterolemia. So basically, where that broke down is familial is family, hyper is high, and then cholesterol is just standard cholesterol, and then emia is in my blood. So basically, what that boils down to is from my body naturally produces extremely high levels of LDL cholesterol. It's just a genetic trait that I was given from my mom, and no matter what I do without medication, you just cannot get that down. So kind of in a nutshell, we call it FH, so we don't have to say that big long word all the time. That's what I'm here to talk about.
Fantastic. And as we talked a little bit about in the pre-show, we're going to be coming at you at a slightly different angle than what you normally do. Because what you were saying before is that you actually have a presentation and you do actually go out and talk about this, but you tend to talk more about like the living with the condition and the medical side of things, and we come at you at the mental health side of things, a side that you weren't exactly prepared for when we started the pre-show last night.
Yeah, and I thought a little bit about that over the night, and you know what? There is a mental part of this that I dealt with pretty much my whole life. You figure I watched my mother pass away at 39. I watched my grandmother pass away at 59. I watched my uncles pass away at 50. And during my whole life, I was told from my family that with this condition, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just something that you're going to have to live with. So in the back of my head, during my whole life, I've always wondered what my age number is going to be.
Oh, I bet. You ever watched the anime Death Note?
I don't think I have.
So one of the things is that the gods of death, they have the ability to look at you, see your true name, and see the exact day and time that you're going to die. So it's almost like you have that floating around your head is what you were thinking.
I believe you're correct. Yeah, and living with this condition, knowing that my having this high LDL, obviously it causes hardening of the arteries in the heart, in the brain, in the legs, and the arms. I watched my mom in her 30s not be able to walk from the car to the front door because she was so exhausted from lack of blood blood flow in her legs. But those are just the kind of things that living with this, you just kind of deal with it.
Yeah, but I mean, that can't be easy.
No, it's not easy at all. Especially just that the family member loss is tough. Yeah, I'm trying to expand on that. But, yeah, when I was, let me see, I was probably, I had this because I was told there was nothing I could really do about it. So I decided when I was 43 that I was going to start taking this serious because I was getting close to the age that my mom had passed away. And every time that I had ever gone out for Mexican food or something or had heartburn, I thought, oh, this is a heart attack. So daily, if there was any twinge or a muscle pain or a heartburn, I just assumed I was having a heart attack every single time. I've actually even gone to the hospital emergency room and was admitted, and every time they're like, oh, you have heartburn. You just have heartburn. So yeah, it's constantly playing around in my head. But when I decided to take it serious, I actually went to a Harborview, the hospital in Seattle, Washington. And my doctor sat me down, and my cholesterol levels, where a normal person would be in about 200, they were right at, I'm trying to get this right. They were right at about 400 at that time.
Whew, double what you should have.
Yeah. And she sat me down, and she did the old scooter chair right up close to me, her knees in between mine, and said, the only thing that you're doing right in your life right now is you're sitting in my office. So it was pretty powerful. It was a powerful statement that stuck with me for a long time. And from that point on, I really started taking control of it.
Now, there's coming through on the chat room, and I'm hearing it too. It seems like there might be a bandwidth issue. And they're saying that I'm coming through loud and clear, but you're coming across really choppy. There's some dropping, and sometimes there's robotic sounds.
Okay, hold on. Let me check something really quick. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, if we have to, we can always drop our video feed between each other, because that'll definitely free up some of the bandwidth.
Well, I can undo video because I'm just in the chat anyway. So.
And you know what? I'll undo my video too, just in case.
Yeah, because I was just saying that Betsy just came across really clear for me as well.
Okay, my apologies for that. You know, I live in a very, very small town with a very, very small bandwidth. Hopefully, this helps.
I hope so. Yes, I just killed my video as well, so we're doing just pure audio now. So hopefully this will help out.
Okay, and like I said, my apologies.
No worries.
Right. No worries at all. It happens.
Yeah.
I'm even off my phone. I don't want anything on my Wi-Fi. Well, in the chat, is there anything that I said that somebody needs me to like re-talk about or say?
Not at the moment. Brandy just says it pays to have an IT person as the head of the podcast.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I would agree.
All right. So basically, what you were saying is that because you knew you had that you may have this condition, you didn't know for sure at the time. Correct me if I'm wrong. You basically felt like you had like this axe hovering right over your neck. Is that about right?
That's exactly about right.
Yeah, it's like the sword of Damocles, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's just the only
in there.
The people always ask me what are the symptoms of this, and your symptoms are your first heart attack.
Oof.
Oh.
Yeah, and that might be the only symptom you ever get because that's the end.
Exactly, and there's a lot of things that come along with it. People have found that I actually tweeted something today that. It's weird that doctors, when they are diagnosing with this, a thickened Achilles tendon is something that is a side effect of this.
Really?
Or you will have a beautiful halo around your eye, the color of your eye, and everybody compliments the person on how beautiful their eyes are, but what's causing that is killing them.
Ooh, wow, that's messed up. let's just call that what it is. So basically, if I ever see someone with a ring around their eye, I go, "Oh, that's really pretty. Have you seen your doctor just to make sure there's nothing causing it?"
Exactly. And like I said, it's a beautiful halo. It just looks like a perfect halo around your eye.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about, like, when you go to speak about this, because I'm sure that there's a lot of people that want to know more about the medical side of it as well, not just the mental health. I mean, obviously, we're going to delve into that more as we go, but
Absolutely.
So like before yesterday, I had never heard of this before, so I'm still fascinated by it too.
Well, like I shared with you yesterday, it's people think that this is a rare condition, but it really isn't. There is we are estimating that there's 1 in 250 people who have this, and so that's not really rare if you think about it. I mean, you probably have more than 250 friends in your Facebook account, so at least one of them, if you break that up. Uh, and the difference between what I have and what like somebody with high cholesterol has is the fact that I've had this in my system from birth. I didn't get this from eating something bad or having an unhealthy lifestyle. And that's another big part of having this is that diet does not change this. The people that I'm associated with that do have this, there's somebody that I know that has a 650 cholesterol level that is a complete vegetarian. So, so,
Wow.
so it's not. This isn't something that we can control when you have it by diet and exercise. I'm not saying that that's not something that you need to do if you have not worry about. I mean, obviously that's a healthy part of it, healthy
Right.
part of healthy living.
Right. I mean, obviously, you still want to
but-
try to live as healthy as you can, even with the condition. I mean, just like most conditions, you still want to live as healthy as you can. You don't want to let the condition just run away.
Exactly. And one of the hardest things for me to see having this and working with other people who do have it is when their children have it. If this runs in your family, you should really be having your children at birth. The American Heart Association even in their guidelines is you should have all children tested for high cholesterol at 8 years old. It's and that's their guidelines. It's not something that anybody is really that I'm just saying or just throwing out.
And there was a number that really kind of freaked me out when you said it, and knowing Betsy, it probably freaked her out. What is the cholesterol level of someone with this condition at birth, typically, or that you've seen or heard about?
Well, they're not quite as high at birth. They do gradually go up from what I've been told.
Okay.
But the condition that I have is I got one gene from my mother that caused me to have this condition. Now, like I said, being that it's not as rare as people think, if a mother and a father both have the gene and they give that same gene to their children, they can be at birth have a cholesterol level of over 1,000 easily.
Yeah. Wow.
That is just. I mean, just hearing that number and just, I'm in my 40s now, and my doctors, of course, track my cholesterol, and I don't know how I avoided having high cholesterol. I honest to God don't know how, because I eat like crap. But I know that I'm starting to learn what those numbers mean, and just thinking at 1,000 at birth, how did you even survive making it through the pregnancy to be born? That is just insanely high.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I'm glad that you said something like that because, nobody completely knows the body. I mean, we can break it up, we can do MRIs, we can do everything that we want. But so my mom, when she had it, she was plugged. Her arteries were plugged from head to toe. Like I said, she couldn't walk. She always had headaches. She actually started getting memory loss from lack of blood flow to her brain.
That's scary.
And here's the weird part is I decided to take it serious at 43. She was 49 when she passed away. She had her first bypass in her 30s. She had her second bypass in her 40s. And when she passed away, she succumbed to surgery. They couldn't find any good veins to do a bypass in her. Now, that brings me to me at 43. I'm getting close to her age. I went down and had a CT scan. They call it a CAT score. And it basically measures the arteries around your heart and tells you how much calcium buildup you have from the cholesterol. And I had a 0. Now, what made me have a 0 and her be plugged from head to toe is beyond me. I have no idea.
And you know what? You had this great story last night about that exact situation, and you just ran right to the conclusion without sharing the story.
I did. I did not mean
Yes.
well, no, I think I know where you're going with this, and you're so here's the story.
Yeah, let's get because I mean that one really shows how even briefly something like this, even though this is not a condition that's linked to mental health issues, it can obviously trigger some mental health issues, even in the short term of like a day. So we definitely want to try to cover that.
Yeah, exactly. So when I did go down for that, I'll back up a little bit. When my mom went in for she went in because she was having the chest pains and the getting tired easily. She went down for a stress test on her heart, and they put her on a treadmill for that stress test. And she could even before they even turned on the treadmill, they just had the pads on her chest and stuff. They disconnected the tabs and they put her into an emergency bypass surgery. They canceled all surgeries and ran her in as an emergency surgery. So I was at work when I got that call. But when I decided to take it serious, I went down and I had this, what I was just explaining to you, they call it a CAT score. I went in for a CT scan on my heart. The CT scan it takes less than 3 minutes. They go in there, they spin this thing around you, and you're done and out. So I got done with the score. They took everything off me, and they said the doctor will get back with you in a couple weeks. I said perfectly. I live about an hour away from where I had the test done. I get in my vehicle and I'm driving away, and about 20 or 30 minutes later, my doctor had called me, and I thought I just relived my mom's scenario all over again. I'm like, why would my doctor be calling me 30 minutes after this test? I was so paranoid.
Yeah, especially when they said it'd take 2 to 3 weeks to hear from them.
Exactly. So I was so paranoid. I was actually pulled over when the phone came. I looked at it. My palms got sweaty. Every drop of blood drained out of my body into my feet. I was so nervous I wouldn't even answer the phone because I didn't want to hear what he had to say. But ultimately, after he left the voicemail, I picked up the phone and I read my voicemail, and this is exactly what he said. I wrote this down because I loved telling it. It said, "Hello, Ray. This is your Dr. Shapiro. I'm elated to tell you that your calcium score came back as 0. Congratulations." I literally broke down crying in the parking lot that I was sitting in when I heard that call. It was not something that I expected, and it was so emotional for me because I felt like I really had a second chance in life at that point.
Oh, I believe it. And I mean,
I imagine, even subconsciously, I imagine, the whole situation must have been completely freaking you out. And that sense of relief that you experienced must have been kind of amazing.
Right. It really was. And, I can get into the mental side of that. When I decided to take it serious, I really, in my head, told myself that I'm way too late. I probably should have done this 20 years ago. So I knew going in that any news that I got from the doctor was going to be bad. And I carried that around for a few months.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking about like when diabetes runs in my family real strong. So does heart disease. So yeah, I get that myself. I don't like going to the doctors to get my blood sugar tested, my A1C. I don't like going to the doctor to get my heart checked and all that. I don't, because it runs in my family and I'm always expecting bad news. I get that. And I'm sure a lot of people get that.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the big things that I've learned, and I really hope I'm coming through better, is when you said heart disease, that's exactly what FH causes. That is 100%. So it may run in your family, and they just never really got to that point of it. But when what people don't realize is, the way the body works is blood is always flowing through your veins, but your cells are also passing through your veins back and forth.
Yep.
So, so what happens, what causes the heart disease or the hardening of the arteries is an LDL cell will go through the vein. And what it does is they call it a soft cell, and it puts like a little spongy thing, not inside your artery, but in between, like a pane of glass, but between the outside and the inside, it goes in the middle, is where that soft cell forms when the LDL goes through there.
Basically, it goes and does what window washers hate the most.
Exactly. I mean, but it's actually in between the two pane, in between the two, the inside and the outside. It's like right in the middle of the glass. Exactly. So when the LDL does that and makes that soft cell, the HDL, which is your good cholesterol, for lack of a better word, good cholesterol, when it goes through, it eats that LDL soft cell up. So that's how a normal person's body. So when the way my body was working, my LDL was so high that my HDL couldn't pass through those veins and keep up with what was happening. So that's how the hardening of the arteries happens. People think it's actually like a buildup inside the artery. It's not. It's between the two walls is where the buildup is. And when it gets built up so far, it ruptures and bleeds. And your body says, I'm bleeding, and it clots that artery. And that's when you have a heart attack.
That makes so much sense.
I wish
that
I had
makes a lot of sense.
I wish I had my diagram. The diagram that I have is amazing. And it's just, I just don't have it up, but and actually I went up to Canada one time and I was speaking to a group that wanted to form a foundation that would address this. And the guy in front of me talking at lunch was saying, oh, I'm just waiting for that piece of calcium to break off and go into my heart and cause a heart attack. And I was like, oh my goodness, you were, because that's not how it happens, but that's how everybody's envision of it is.
Right. So there's that little party going, my God, you're ignorant. Let me fix that. And here's the thing, is that when you say the word ignorant, I don't mean that derogatorily. That is the default state of everybody on every topic. So it's whether you choose to stay ignorant or not. That's the problem.
Well, you know what? To tell you how ignorant I was, before I really started learning about what I had, somebody would say something. I said, you can't tell me anything I don't know about high cholesterol. I've had it since I was 14 years old. Well, you know what? I didn't know nothing about what I had until I started really diving in and going to specialists. And some of the specialists I've seen are the best in the world. I mean, I hands down. And I'm honored to be able to say that, because they give me some of the best care and some of the best medications. Yeah.
So you're no longer standing on the top of Mount Stupid of the Dunning-Kruger effect.
I am not. I'm actually out talking to those people.
Nice. So you're on the slope of enlightenment at this point.
Exactly.
Nice. Yeah, I love the terminologies that they use for Dunning-Kruger effect. And also, as far as your charts go, if you want, when we're done, you can always post this to the episode on Facebook.
Oh, perfect. That sounds good.
All right, perfect. Yeah, we can always do that. And if you don't want to have people linking to you, you can always just send it to Bexy or me, and we can throw it up on your behalf, because we post as the Facebook account. So.
Yeah. And I'll share this. If when we get done with this podcast, if anybody has any questions at all, there's a website called the FH Foundation, and they have slides and pictures and diagrams and descriptions and stories and bios that would just, stories that would just blow you away. I mean,
all right. So Kat was saying the diagram would be great because I'm a visual person. I'm not sure I'm understanding the explanation. Yeah. The way I would say it as an analogy, and obviously analogies have a breakdown point where they stop making sense, but just for the purpose of this explanation, it's like the artery is like a hose with a hose running inside of it. All the blood's on the inner hose, and what happens is that the LDL goes into the space between the two hoses. It starts expanding, causing one of those hoses to burst.
Exactly. Causing the internal hose after it gets expanded so far to burst. And I will get that diagram, and because it really is, it the diagram actually puts, it's not just one picture, it's a progression of how the heart attack happens. It'll take you through 6 different progressions of the buildup, the burst, and then the clot.
Fantastic. And Bexy,
And I just dropped the foundation's website into the chat as well.
Okay.
yeah, just to give an idea of why I threw out that analogy is that I was actually at my last job I had, which was a very, very large and famous company. I was the analogy subject matter expert, and I gave presentations to teams on analogies. So that's one of my gifts. You know, and of course, like I said too, every single analogy eventually has a break point where it just doesn't make sense again if you get too literal. And that's the key. You got to find that balance.
Exactly. When I was explaining it, I thought I kind of jumped into it quick, and I explained it fast, and I apologize for that.
No problem. Another good analogy I like using is like a bad analogy is like a chicken in a empty bathtub. It makes a whole lot of noise, but doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I want to kind of go back. Let's circle back a little bit on when I talked about like children with this. I mean, obviously, anybody who has children would know that the last thing you want to do is start putting them on medications young. But it's mainly for the children who have what I was explaining, where they got the gene from their mother and their father. I mean, this just devastates families because they have a thing called apheresis, and apheresis is similar to dialysis. So these children will go in and they will lay on their hospital bed, and they get hooked up, and it actually takes the cholesterol out of their system. And they do this on whatever cycle their doctor puts them on. It could be once a month, it could be every 2 weeks, however they're progressed. But there is I can't say the name for legal reasons, but there's a gal that I think she's 12 years old, and she does this every 2 weeks. She has been in the Make-A-Wish Foundation. They've ran her through all this stuff, and this family cannot keep up with this cholesterol in her system, and it's heartbreaking to watch.
Wow. So, I mean, it kind of the way you just said it, it sounds like they're trying to bail out their house during a flood, and there's just more water coming in than they can bail out.
Exactly. And the hard thing about this, and this is what this really hits me hard, because, you know, watching my mom go through this and stuff, I watched my mom go through what they're watching their 12-year-old go through. So when the Make-A-Wish Foundation stepped up and did a bunch of stuff for her, that family got a lot of slack, because this is a young girl she is in ballet, she does shows, she does all this stuff. I mean, she's thin, she's pretty, and that family took a lot of slack for taking what they said was a Make-A-Wish Foundation cause away from somebody who really needed it.
Oh, come on. Seriously, just
and we know
you can't judge an illness visually.
You cannot.
No, my mom dealt with it too. Like I said, she could not walk very far. So they gave her a handicap placard, and she had gotten so many people coming up and saying, "You really look handicapped," and this and that. And it's heart-wrenching.
That really hits close to home for me. I totally understand that.
I'm just getting pissed at this point. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just gonna say that there. Oh, by the way, Ray, we do have the explicit tag on, so if you need to drop an F-bomb or something, you have permission.
I appreciate that. I feel like I'm rambling sometimes. I would love to answer any questions if anybody has.
No one's been asking questions. I think they're really captivated by the story.
Yeah.
although you got a lot of people that got mad too about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that people are just so ugly, says Kat. Devern says, I hate most people. What is being described is why. Brandy says people are so cruel. I don't understand why people can't be kind. And I'm right there with you on that, Brandy. I don't get it at all.
I mean, I'm an asshole, but I'm a kind asshole.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I can deal. I can deal with an asshole. That's cool. You want to be an ass, be an ass. Don't be mean.
Exactly.
Unnecessarily mean. I can't stand that. It breaks my heart.
Well, I guess I can branch off into something that's been a passion of mine, having this condition. Something that I kind of suffer from something that I think is more of a lady's condition, but I've had self-image issues my whole life on how I look, how I appear, stuff like that. So a lot of the women who deal with this, especially at a younger age, they're told from, you know, like I said, I can't speak for a woman, but I know that they deal with this kind of stuff all the time, and they're told you can't eat this, you can't do this, you can't do that. So it kind of, I've one of my passions is that sometime in my life, I would like to do a study on the self-image issues of women as children when they have this, and if it affected them by everything that they were told they could and couldn't eat as a child or as they get older.
Wow, that's actually would be a great. I would be interested in that study. Honestly,
I would love to hear more about that too.
Yeah, and that's my vision. That's not I haven't. It's just something that I've thought about, because I have a half sister, and it's just like you could not tell her anything. Like if I said, I mean, it's just she was just very sensitive about image, and so and I just wonder how that affects the younger women or even older women, with their body image and stuff. And like I said, I suffered. I dealt with it my whole life. I don't know why. It's just something that I carry. It just I have no way of explaining it.
that's no. I mean, I'm kind of speechless right now. No, but I mean, no, that's awesome that you want to look into that. And I mean, I honestly believe that image issues stand for everybody. Because I mean, like even if you go by the classical, the manly, you should be muscular and tone and fit. And guys that aren't tend to also have a lot of those image issues as well. So I don't think it's a gendered thing. I think it's just a human thing. There's a lot of social pressure.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. When I first started getting on my medications to control this, and I shared with you guys that, like I said, I run a total cholesterol level untreated at 400, and I'm sure it's been higher at certain times, but medications are amazing for this drug. They are well advanced. I have my own opinion on. I take statins. I'm very comfortable taking statins. I take a couple other things. I take an injectable that I give myself every 2 weeks, which causes. I mean, my cholesterol level now is right around 100. So from a 400.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, but something that I dealt with, and I asked several doctors this, and the only people that I've got any response from are fellow people who are doing the same thing that I'm doing. That in the beginning, we dealt with ultra low cholesterol levels. We dealt with depression. It's something that came in, and every time I ask a doctor about that, they tell me, I've never heard of it. I don't know. I know it's not a side effect, but all the people that I deal with that are on the same medications as I have dealt with depression when they got those ultra low cholesterol levels.
Now, of course, the question comes, what's causing it? Is it the ultra low cholesterol levels because it's something different than your body's ever experienced? Is it the meds? Is it both?
Yeah. And like I said, that's my opinion. I've never dealt with depression until I did that, but it was a short term thing. And it's kind of like a lot of people. Statins got a really, really bad rap when they first came out because a doctor was like, well, if 40 milligrams does this, I bet you 200 milligrams will do this. Well, that's not how they work. So there was some people that they did have some side effects with liver issues when the doctor was loading them up with those statins, but now they've fixed that issue. But
the stigma probably lives on.
The stigma will always live on. I mean, it's just you can't get past it. And for some reason, women deal with statin intolerances more than men. And something that I've learned is that they say if you have to go on statins, and you have those intolerance, and the intolerance that I'm saying, there's muscle pain. and you just feel fatigued and your muscles hurt and stuff. That's usually something that goes away, but not in everybody. I mean, there's some things that some people it just doesn't. And for some reason it happens in women more than men.
All I know is that I've had depression my entire life. I would love to have known what it's like to get away from it. So, in that, you got some of my envy there.
I don't think I know what it's like to live without depression either, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like when my wife she gets a migraine every few years at most. And I'm like, I get them all the damn time. But then there's a good friend of mine who basically her life is a migraine, which I'm so thankful I don't have them as much. But again, it's that whole thing of, like her world is endless migraine. My world is migraines all the time every year. And it's just alien, to hear about, wow, life without migraines at all? What's that like?
Yeah, well, you know what? If anybody who deals with depression, like I said, I never would wish that on anybody at any time. And I found when I dealt with it that there is a completely different side to depression. There's one thing to be depressed about a loss of a loved one, but there's another thing to be clinically depressed, and that is so if anybody who's dealing with that, I am 100% sympathetic. I understand, and I will help anybody get through whatever they're going through to help them with that. That is a horrible thing to go through.
It is. Been there, done that. And hey, you know what? My family's getting old. Gonna go through it a lot. I hate it, but life is life. It is what it is. And it sucks, because when I was like, even 20 years ago, I wouldn't have even thought that, it is what it is. Life is life. People are going to die in my family. It's going to hurt. I'm going to miss them, but I'll keep going forward. Today, I'm like that, but 20 years ago, hell no.
Unfortunately for me, I lost people in my family very early, so I've dealt with loss of family members from a young age, and I'm, that's definitely been a factor in my depression.
And that's actually been one of our biggest bonding points, was dealing with with loss.
Yes.
So yeah,
it's never.
No, it's never easy.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to keep expanding on this, and I'm trying to do the best I can. So what I try to tell people is, say you go down and you get a cholesterol. Usually you don't need I took a genetic test. That was my choice. But if you have a family of heart disease or heart attacks in your family, there's a good chance that FH is running in your family. And so it's just, and then if you go and get tested and you have high cholesterol, there's a good chance that this is, not everybody is as extreme as me or my mom or the person next door and stuff. It doesn't have to be ultra high, and you can still have FH.
Okay, so it basically, like a lot of conditions, it has varying degrees.
It does. I mean, well, like I said, my mom, she was plugged calcium in her arteries from head to toe at 49. I'm 46 and I have nothing. So it's who knows? Of course, my dad's side of the family lives forever and they do everything wrong. My mom's side does everything right and they don't live very long at all. So I don't know if I got a middle mix or what I got.
Well, maybe you got the best of both worlds.
I guess I did. I can.
Yeah, no. I don't know about if it runs in my family. I know that if it does, I didn't get it because I eat like I said, I eat crap, and my cholesterol is good. It's under 150. So I don't really worry about that. But I still, anytime I feel anything going on in any funny business in my chest, I'm always going, is this a heart attack like what took? And I can just name off every member of my family that I lost by a heart attack. Even though I literally have no data to suggest that that's the case.
I understand. There's a lot to be said about, I was talking about diet earlier. Actually, the big thing with having FH, the keto diet is a very controversial subject in the FH community, or people with this. basically every doctor will tell you that the keto diet is not the diet that if you have FH you should go on. I agree with that, and this is my opinion, my opinions only. But I was one of my last doctor's visits, I was told that your blood pressure has been high for a little bit. And next time you come back, if your blood pressure is high, we're going to think about putting you on blood pressure pills. And that scared me to death. You know what? I'll take all these statins. I'll take all this injection stuff. Like, for some reason, blood pressure scared the crud out of me. Well, I did my research, and against every doctor's orders, I went on the keto diet. Well, my cholesterol did go back up. Not as high as it was untreated, but my blood pressure went normal. I lost 25 pounds.
Wow.
So I just kind of want to throw that in there as like, I'm not promoting the keto diet, and I'm not promoting anything. I'm just saying that it worked for me for a temporary fix. And the last time I went to my I just had a Zoom doctor's appointment, and I told my doctor what I weighed and what my blood pressure was, and she was ecstatic. And then she said, "How'd you do it?" And I told her the keto diet, and she grabbed her neck like she was choking herself.
I love when doctors have a good sense of humor.
She's like, "Oh my goodness." She goes, "Okay." She goes, "I'm going to give you a pass."
Of course, it's like, you could give me a pass or you just have to accept it. Either way, it's already done.
Yeah. But you know, it's like the problem that I deal with, and it's like, I don't know, you know, it's like I can be taught everything that I have and stuff, but with all these controversial diets and stuff like that, it always weighs on me. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I eat this? Should I not eat that? It's like every meal is a decision in my brain. It feels like, and it's like, I don't feel that people should have to live like that.
Oh, I get that. I have I am, how is it called? It's monogenomic diabetes. It's not type 1. It's not type 2. Basically, my pancreas just once I hit puberty goes, this is the amount of insulin I'm going to produce 24/7, 365, and I'm not changing it anymore. And you know, it's a Native American thing. I don't have a lot of Native American blood in me, but I got this. And it causes hyperglycemia, which, you know, is great when you live a feast and, you know, famine type lifestyle. It'll give you that extra 1 or 2 days of energy to keep the hunt going because you have all that stored sugar in your blood. But we don't live in a feast or famine environment, so yeah, my blood sugar's like elevated all the time. And, you know, I'm thinking about maybe I should start doing intermittent fasting. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should try keto. Well, then there's the ketoacidosis. Maybe I shouldn't because diabetes really and keto don't go along together. Then my wife went and got this hazelnut spread that was keto, and I didn't know it. I thought it was just an off-brand Nutella, and I tried it. I'll just say that I compared it to a colon cleanse, and I decided I am never doing keto anything.
You know what? I will. Okay, like, you warned me about this, and you were correct. We're gonna move right into bodily functions.
Well, I mean, you were talking about how your body functions, so.
And I tell you what, I went on it. I went on the keto diet for 3 months, and I got what they call the keto flu. And I'll tell you what, it was the flu.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't need that.
I've done keto. That's how I lost the majority of my weight. I've been there. It's not fun.
Yeah, so for everybody that has done keto or is doing keto, bravo, more power to you. I'm not joining you.
I think that anybody who does a keto diet should have the Imodium diet too.
Flash stock in it, people.
Wow.
Hey, I'm no doctor.
He's like, I am no doctor, but I am a stockholder.
Yeah. Yeah. I have shares in this. I know you said there's no questions, but boy, I'd love to answer any questions. I'm kind of running out of my story here, and I I'm having a great time doing this.
Glad. We're having a really good time having you here. And I mean, seriously, I've learned a lot. So that, I'm sure a lot of people have learned a lot.
This has been very enlightening.
And I love your attitude to this whole thing, too. It's been absolutely fantastic. Like, seriously, I could just hang out with you. Like, seriously, that's how I feel.
That's the kind of guy I am.
Nice. Well, I do have some friends up in Washington that I need to visit. As a matter of fact, our former co-host is moving there. I don't know if he's done moving there or not, and he'll be coming back after he's done with his move. So, yeah. Maybe I'll hit you up when I head up to Washington and be like, dude, we got to hang out.
Absolutely. I'm halfway between Portland, Oregon and Seattle, Washington. I live right at the base of Mount St. Helens.
Oh, nice. Yeah, my dad actually, when he was in the Army, he was stationed at
Lewis.
Yeah,
Fort Lewis.
Yep, Fort Lewis.
Yep. That's not far from me. That's halfway between my house and Tacoma, Washington.
Yep. Yeah. No.
Okay, so we have a few comments.
Oh, great.
Kat says, higher cholesterol runs in my mom's side. Great aunt was skinny, ate like a little bird, never any red meat, and her cholesterol was sky high. My mom's was high. Mine is fairly normal. HDL is high, which is good, balances it out. And then
when we were talking about the gastric
the keto
stuff.
Diet, Brandy says, I feel like keto would make me sick, especially since my body can't process fats very well anymore.
And Kat was laughing, saying that the hazelnut spread probably had coconut oil in it.
Coconut oil in it, yes. And Kat also says, Ray is very interesting and the information is great.
Well, I appreciate that. And so was it Kat that said that her mom was...
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So that is the telltale sign of FH. And when I say FH, I mean the familial hypercholesterolemia. That is, if heart disease runs in your family. So I'm glad that she asked that question. That is an amazing question. And the reason is I thought in my family that I was the last one because my mom had it. I knew that I had another aunt that had it, but she didn't say anything about her children. So I had a grandpa that passed away, not from FH, but I was at the funeral. And we did a graveside at his, and then we went to my mom's, and I was talking to my cousin, and I found out that he had high cholesterol. So I immediately didn't notify him. I talked to him, and I said, you need to have your children tested. That's just part of the system. I don't know how serious he took that, but this is how FH works. I mean, it's you just see a pattern, and then all of a sudden you find out that you have it. And it's that genetic gene that is producing that. So that is what she is explaining is exactly what FH is.
Okay. And actually there was one thing that you mentioned last night that it crossed my mind a couple of times while you were talking, and now I think it's a good time to bring it up because, I remembered. You were talking about how they didn't even really want to test you because they're going to treat you the same whether you're diagnosed or not. Am I remember that correctly?
You are, and you bring up a great point. A lot of times, people with FH they get pushed aside because they see this family history, and they'll go in and they'll get tested and they'll have high cholesterol, and you'll tell your doctor, well, I read about FH or I've heard about FH. Is this something that I might have, or along those lines? And the doctor will say, well, I'm going to treat you the same if you have FH or if you just have high cholesterol. So there's no point in doing an extra test. But what I've learned is that if you have FH, you've had this from the beginning of birth. So you need to treat it a little bit more aggressively than what somebody that I'm talking over myself. I'm sorry. It has to be treated a little bit more aggressively than someone who has just got high cholesterol from bad eating habits. Hopefully I made that clear.
Yes. And also, if I mentioned it too last night, I'm going to bring it up again, from just a statistician kind of point of view too, you're hiding or burying the actual numbers of how many people have this condition, making it really hard to tell exactly how common or rare this is if you're refusing to test people.
Exactly. And it took a lot of work. There were some people. So I don't remember the name, because I forget the name of like when a medical office has like a title on your condition. There's a name for that, and I forget that name. I'm sorry for that, but um, when because I go to Washington D.C. and I speak to my senators about this to help raise money and get funding and stuff like that, and whatever the name of this title is, but they really frown on that name part of it because shoot, I'm sorry that I don't remember the name of it, but anyways, like if you go to the doctor and you say this is what I have, they have a title and they have a code for it, and there's so many codes that the doctors actually like they just give you the quickest code that they know. There was actually when I went to Washington D.C., I was talking to one of the senators, and we were talking about these codes, and she mentioned to me, she goes, "Do you know that there's a code in the medical industry for somebody who gets sucked in the jet of an airplane motor?"
What?
That is, I am not kidding you. There is, so
I would think that would be code hamburger, but okay.
well, it's I like I said, she was in, and because we were trying to sell this, and we wanted to get because when I first was diagnosed, it was called hyperlipidemia. That was what they called it. But there's a difference between hyperlipidemia, just having high cholesterol, compared to having a family of high cholesterol. So they really pushed hard for it, and at the time that these people were pushing for this code to be put in as FH, familial hypercholesterolemia, they're like, "Do you know how many codes we have?" so I really had to share that jet story because I was like, I did not realize that you can be sucked into a jet and there's a code for you in your file for that.
Right?
Yeah, I think you mean their international classification of diseases codes.
Yeah, and that might be it. Yeah.
ICD codes.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Current procedure terminology. Those are CPT codes. There's a ton of codes in the medical industry.
It just
if
gives
you
everything in.
If you want to go into acronym hell, go into medicine. Like seriously, anywhere in healthcare, it is acronym hell.
Yes, it is.
So I think I forgot where I was going with that, but anyways, that was.
Yeah, we're talking about how the doctor, like your doctor, didn't even want to test you, and I was like, okay, so it costs a little bit more money, but then you know for sure, and then that goes into a database, and then they could go, hey, look, this is how common this is, and it could adjust. It could impact funding. It could impact research. I mean, it only helps to do it.
It really does. And I mean, and we can get into the genetic testing end of it, but that's a whole different realm. But and just to back up just a little bit, I didn't have a problem because I was very. My doctors that I went to were actually very pro doing it, but talking to people who have high cholesterol, and I ask them, well, did you do this? Did you do that? And then they come back to me and they say, well, I told my doctor that, and he says it's all the same treatment, so there's no sense in running extra tests. But you were right. If what you have is not on your list, it's not going to be in the statistic. It's not going to be in the funding. It's huge.
Exactly.
Well, and not only that, if you have something and you're not tested for it and you never know exactly what's wrong with you, I mean, I know this for myself. Having a diagnosis is a huge relief. Knowing that, in your head, you're not crazy because you feel a certain way because of this disease that you have, but you've never been able to put a name to it. Being able to face your fear and name your demon, so to speak, is a big, it's cathartic to me.
It really is.
And then, with my whole IT background, without knowing what you're going against, all you're doing is you're treating symptoms. You're not treating the root cause. Even if this is the same treatment, at least you know that you're treating the right thing. Because if that test comes back and it says, nope, that's not what it is, well, now you have another question. Okay, then what is this? Where do I go from here? What am I missing? What's not, what am I not treating? Those are the kinds of things that start popping into my head. Because it just, by doing tech support kind of stuff, if I think I know what an issue is and I go and I look and nope, that's not it, then it's like, okay, what am I missing? That's a big question.
And the part that's big for me is defining it, not only just because it's FH, but it's defining that if I tell my family member I have FH, they can go to their doctor, and if they have high cholesterol, they say, "Well, I have a family member that has FH," and so it's a snowball effect. You got to keep the ball rolling on
Yep.
what you.
Yeah, like my 3-year-old, is his blood sugars are a bit elevated, and I pointed out, hey, monogenomic diabetes runs in my family. I don't exactly remember which type it is because there's a number of different subcategories of which type of monogenomic it is. And my daughter actually got the genetic test, and I'm trying to get those results because she can't remember off the top of her head. But she's been just so inundated with school that I think we're going to try to get it during the winter holiday and then be able to go, hey, this is what my daughter has. I know that came from me because there's no diabetes on her mom's side of the family at all. So yeah, I get that. It really, it's helpful because it can also help speed up diagnosis. Oh, so you gave this to your daughter, which means you have it, which means your son may have gotten it from you.
Exactly. And the thing about diabetes and FH is the diet is the same. The recommended diet is mirror image. I mean, whatever the diabetic diet is, that's what a FH patient should be on.
Hey, so if I happen to have both, cool
There you
beans,
go.
I'm already good.
Right?
Just don't take my advice and go on keto like I did.
Nope. Mm-mm. No keto flu for me. Thank you very much.
Your doctor's
I
gonna
think
choke.
we've all sworn off the keto for now.
And then
I'm trying to think of
I
anything
will.
else.
I will honestly say this: I will keep what's left of my belly to never have to do keto again.
Mhm.
I guess these people are like Iron Men and Iron Women that do it. Seriously.
Well,
Either that or they have a cast iron gut.
it's you know what it is. I'm trying to find a better word for you, but it is it works, but it works for the right person. I mean, it's like I was like I said, I was paranoid when because I was actually at a convention and I was talking and like I said, statin pills, whichever one people are on, they have a bad rap. I mean, people are like, oh, I would never go on a statin. I'd never do this. But the doctor that I was listening to, he said that he would rather put a family of 20 on statins than give one person a high blood pressure pill. So that was like, I heard that. And then all of a sudden they talked about putting me on a high blood pressure pill. And I was like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. And it was like something clicked in my head. It's like, I got to get this taken care of.
Yeah, meanwhile, I have a pill that I was on. I had to stop. It's for impulsivity, but it also lowers blood pressure.
Oh,
And I happened to get on that the same day I finally kicked all diet soda to the curb. So I was going through aspartame withdrawals and using this medication. And I thought that, it's like aspartame withdrawals could go up to 6 weeks, which is just terrifying. And this was not going away. I'm like, well, maybe it's the med. So I stopped the med and I started feeling a lot better. And I'm like, okay, so it's not aspartame withdrawal. I was like, but what if I happen to coincidentally stop at the same time that my body finally got done with aspartame withdrawal? Only one way to find out for sure. So I took it one more time. It wrecked me. I'm never going back on it again.
And that's something. It was funny because my wife and I, we both had doctor's appointments at the same time. So I go in there, they give me all these prescriptions, and they give me I'm on something called Arvastatin, and then Azetamine, which is a fat blocker, and then my injectables, which is a Repatha. And they give me all mine, and then we go to and there was nothing said. Just take these as you go. So my wife goes into her doctor's appointment, and we're sitting there, and they're like, here's these blood pressure pills. Take these once a day. Don't ever miss one. You'll have a stroke. Don't ever.
Oh,
So I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on here?
now that sounded an awful lot like, okay, once you go full synthetic oil.
And then the funny thing is I'll run out of my medications and I'll like forget to call the pharmacist or something like that. And they're like, "What do you need?" I was like, "Well, I need my statins." She's like, "Oh, all right, well, you're out. We can get you one in 3 days." My wife calls. She's out of her blood pressure pills. They're like, "We're going to give you 3 free ones." And
We don't want you to die.
yeah, I'm like, "What are you taking?"
I actually, I find it really, really strange. I actually take a blood pressure medication, but I don't take it for blood pressure.
Oh, you know what? I've heard of that. I'm not. I can't
have,
put my finger on it, but I do know what you're talking
I'm diabetic, and I take metformin, which I know a lot of people don't like. It wrecks people, but it's done really good for me.
Nope, don't like metformin. Nope.
I know. I mean,
name drop.
It's always me. I'm sorry. I can't help it.
If it's not you, it's KZ. So whatever.
I know. Your co-hosts are name dropping fools. All right.
I can't get a reliable co-host to save me. I swear. No.
Hey, I'm trained. What are you looking for?
All right.
Now, I can say one thing that was positive. I had a family member who was also on metformin, and they wound up having prostate cancer, and it turns out that metformin greatly slows the development of prostate cancer. So when they discovered it, he was far better off than he would have been had he not been on metformin.
Well, that's why the metformin is the reason I'm on a blood pressure medicine, because it actually protects my kidneys from the damage the metformin can do. And any protection for my kidneys is a good thing. I've had a lot of kidney issues lately.
Yeah, I know.
Way more than I've ever thought I would have to deal with, but at least they're getting better.
That's the good thing. Yeah, I really hate when I get those text messages in the ER again. God.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good. I'm struggling here. I'm trying to find you guys. I'm trying to.
Yeah, and there's just.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to pull something out of my bag of tricks here on what I.
Yeah, DeVerne did say all these conversations make me wonder what about my own body could be a problem that I wouldn't consider or just can't put a name to. And the cat was saying that she actually loved keto, did really well on it, and then the holidays hit and pfft, which, I mean, holidays.
Holidays wreck most diets.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should be on a diet during November or December. Well, actually, I don't think anybody should be on a diet between January and December. But if you got to,
from January 1st at midnight until 11:59 and 59 seconds on December 31st, no diets. So you get that 1 second window.
Yeah, I'm great at diets. I start about 12 a year. One a month.
I've stopped with the whole diet thing myself. I mean, I've never admitted this out loud to anyone, but at my heaviest, I was almost 600 pounds. And wow. I am under 300 now.
Well, congratulations.
I'm still big, but I'm working on it. And because of the Hashimoto's, it's hard for me to lose weight. It took me the better part of 2.5 to 3 years to get to this size. And I'm pretty much staying right in this little window of under 300. And I'm okay with that.
Well, 50% loss is an amazing accomplishment, and don't let anybody diminish that.
Oh, when I first met Bexy, it would take nothing to get her to let that diminish it. Now, oh my God. Like, people try to attack her, and she just zings them. But she can also zing them with love, which is just amazing.
I'm the worst person in the world to debate with, because I will walk into a debate that is hot and heated and heavy, and I will drop my opinion and I will walk away. And when they start to attack me, I will come off with some flip remark and not say anything else. And people hate it, or I'll turn the other cheek and I'll be like, I'm really sorry you feel that way. Do you need a hug?
and it drives them nuts. It's amazing. Or if they're truly annoying and not listening, she starts dropping cat facts.
Yes, I do that too. I will drop cat facts. I will drop random shower facts.
So
and if they really, really, really upset me, then I call my hellhound.
Hello, that's me. A random shower thought. There are more nipples on Earth than there are eyeballs for people.
Wait a minute. What did you just say?
It's a shower thought. It's a shower thought. There are more human nipples on Earth than there are human eyeballs. Because people will have a third nipple, but no one has a third eye.
I just don't know how to take this.
Shower thoughts, baby. Shower thoughts. I'm waiting for the chat to.
I'm kind of scrolling through a website here, and so I'm hoping that we've raised some good questions, and people are kind of wondering.
I'm hoping for some questions.
Maybe I haven't.
The only question we've had so far was Kat Mitch asking about how good you are at diets every Monday, right?
Every Monday, yeah. My diet starts on Monday, and Tuesday I'm at Mexican food down the street.
I go to the Roach Coach. Oh, I love food trucks.
But I kind of have like a chart here, and it says, "Do I have FH?" And it's like, if you don't know if you have FH, do you have a family heart disease? And if it's yes, it's like, is your cholesterol over 200? Yes. Does immediate family have FH? It's like, yes. So it kind of scrolls you down, and then you can. Bexy, you put a link, right, to this website, the FH Foundation.
Yes, I did. I dropped it in the chat.
So they kind of boil it down. It's like clicking boxes, and the FH Foundation has an app for your phone too that you can answer simple questions, and it'll put you in a category on yes or no, or where you might stand, or maybe just go to your doctor and ask. Hopefully I didn't just like run us off a good tangent into a boring one, but
no, we started dropping jokes in the chat.
But if you do have FH, and if you kind of know it, and basically, I would recommend people self-diagnose. That's the best way of doing it. If you can trace your family history back to something, heart disease, and also you have high cholesterol, this is something that's very easily self-diagnosed. So I just want people to know that it doesn't have to be going in and getting some major blood test and for me, we talked about this earlier. I don't have children, but beings that I know, that's where it starts. Knowing where to guide the family,
right?
getting them to get treatment, because we don't want. It doesn't matter who it is. We don't want people like my mom dying at 49 years old, not being able to walk to the car at 35. I mean, so that's my ultimate goal, and that's why I have such a passion for that.
And you can tell me to piss off on this question if you want, but I mean, how old were you when your mom was like that 35-year-old who couldn't walk?
My mom was exactly 20 years older than me. So when I was 14, so my mom got a cholesterol test at 34. So I'm 46 now. So at 34, she got a test. And then for some reason, that doctor, and I'm speculating here, went to a conference or something like that because her cholesterol was so high. And he said, well, there's a new family genetic thing, because that's about the time that this all started coming out. He goes, you should have your children tested. So basically, at that time, we went in and got tested the same time my mom did. I was 14 years old. He was 34. That's when we realized what I had. And here's the funny part. I tell this story in my when I'm talking to, because diet and exercise, like I said, is still key to have an FH. Everybody needs to be healthy, but eating does not affect us. So one day we were sitting there at the dinner table, and my mom and dad, I mean, we were meat eaters growing up. So I had this great big thing of corn. I had this great big, I'm gonna guess a ribeye steak on my plate. I had mashed potatoes, probably with garlic in it or something like that. Well, we get ready to eat, and I reach over to grab the salt for my steak, and my dad smacks my hand with his fork and goes, "You got high cholesterol. Don't eat that."
Wait.
I wasn't allowed to put salt on my steak, this big fatty ribeye red meat steak, because I had high cholesterol.
That's like going to Wendy's, getting like the triple baconator and going, I'm just going to have a diet soda.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously.
Yeah. So that's kind of my funny story. I share that all the time because I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, at the time, I didn't know the diet didn't help. But still, it's like, that's my funny story.
But then you waited, and I'm sorry that I'm trying to bring this back a little more serious and a little personal. But so you were tested at 14. You knew that you had it at 14. And you waited 29 years to take it seriously.
I really did. My family really made no life choices, made no life changes when we found out we had it. So in my head, growing up, it was like, well, this is no big deal. I mean, I didn't see anybody else make any changes. And so I wasn't going to take it serious. And I didn't. And I kind of felt, because I've always been fairly athletic and fit. So I ran a lot. I was a semi-pro football player. We did all these things. And I just thought, well, as long as I'm fit, I don't have to worry about this.
Wait a minute. Semi-pro football player. How are you semi-pro?
Well, we went, there's a semi-pro league that plays out of Seattle, and I played for them I did it for 4 years.
Oh, nice.
So I'm not, well, I could have been a professional, but I wasn't good enough.
Gotcha. So, I mean, out of curiosity, football's my favorite sport. What position did you play?
I played wide receiver.
Dang, wait, how tall are you?
I'm not very tall at all. I'm like a Russell Wilson, like of the Seattle Seahawks. I'm a short, fast guy.
So basically you were a Steve Largent type of wide receiver.
Exactly.
Got it.
But yeah, so it was like one of those things where I thought, well, I'm always working out. I'm always doing this. So I didn't think that it was a big deal. And then, like, if I went on a diet or something, I lost a few pounds. It's like, oh, I don't want to take my medications because I don't want my cholesterol too low. But now to come find out, that's not a bad thing.
Meanwhile, we lost Vern to go eat some cake. Here we are talking about awful foods. He's like, I'm going to go eat some cake, I guess. I'll be back in a little bit.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, see, my chat is acting up. I'm not getting any new messages loading.
Uh-oh. Quit it and come back?
Yeah, I'm going to try.
All right, and Kat, I want Mexican food.
Yeah.
See, now we're all talking about food.
I should have brought that up. Now I want cake and Mexican food.
Yeah, normally, I married into a Mexican family and had the tamales every Christmas, but the mother-in-law passed away this year. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Because usually I do a tamale-thon every year where I start tracking how many I eat. And I have gone where I'll eat like over 20 tamales in like a 3-hour window. Because I love tamales. Like, I hated them until I finally got a homemade one. And I was like, these are the best!
Yeah. They didn't come out of saran wrap.
Right. And they have that olive in the middle, which is how you know it's authentic.
Mm. Yeah, I worked on a job one time where it was a Mexican family, and he worked there, and his wife basically prided herself on making everybody in the crew lunch. It's like I had to quit bringing him a lunch because I was eating a roast beef sandwich and he was bringing like burritos and tacos and tortillas and tamales, and I was like, oh my gosh, I mean, it's probably where my cholesterol came from.
Just blame your coworker's wife.
Yeah. But it was so good. I couldn't wait for lunch, and I felt bad because I felt like I was eating his lunch. But
yeah, and the only questions that we're getting are about that this time about how many tamales I would eat, and how small a window, like 3 hours? Question mark. It's like, yeah, I ate a huge breakfast, skipped lunch, and then stuffed my face for dinner.
Yeah. We talk about cholesterol and then we talk about eating. Let's do this.
Yeah. And let's just, tamales. Yeah, those are great for cholesterol. Not.
Oh, yeah.
Well, luckily it's not the food that affects mine.
Yeah. It's like, it's kind of funny because you have that condition. I have the diabetes thing, which kind of, as you said, parallels dietary wise. And then there's my son who has CRMS, which is cystic fibrosis related metabolic syndrome. I know I've talked about it a little bit before, but just as a recap, he has one gene for cystic fibrosis, and then he got a deformed. Deformed is not quite the right word, but it's a protein that malformed that he got as well. And when that protein interacts with that gene, it causes cystic fibrosis, and it's a onset thing where it's. Some people, it starts, basically by the time you're diagnosed, you're already full-blown cystic fibrosis. Some people never go cystic fibrosis. My son is projected to go cystic fibrosis before he graduates high school, according to what his number is. But even that is just, it's throwing a dart at a dartboard in a darkened room. It's still guesswork. But with him, he basically, cystic fibrosis is a desalinating disease. So he actually have to have extra salt on everything. As he gets older, he needs to take in more and more salt. So if your dad went to slap my son's fork away or hand away from the salt, my son probably would have socked him and said, "That's mine." Although he's only 3, he'd probably just yell at him for getting smacked. It's just weird seeing how it's like there's nothing that diet can do really to help him on. It's like everyone else is like, okay, cut the salt. But for my son, it's like, add extra salt, please. His life depends on it. And I could just see other people that have, because like heart conditions that they have to withdraw the salt. And it's like, my son, I need extra salt. It's just wait, why?
So if like you said to me, if I touch anything that's too personal, just let me know. Does he deal with depression with cystic fibrosis?
Oh, he's only 3 years old. He doesn't even know yet.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and I'm an open book. Actually, I might need to go into an episode, talk about that on an episode, about the struggle from when he was diagnosed to where we are today, because it was, God, that was an emotional roller coaster.
Gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, Bexy saw the whole thing, front row.
I did. I mean, you and I met shortly after he was born.
Yeah.
He was not very old at all.
No, I don't even think that he had been diagnosed yet when we met.
No, I remember the day that you got his diagnosis, and yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and I probably think like Ray, when you get that diagnosis, it's kind of like it's world shattering. Like, oh crap, I'm going to die young. But for me, it's like, oh crap, I'm going to have to bury my son.
Yeah, a big thing that happens with FH, and this is where I was kind of leading with it, is there's a lot of parent guilt because they passed it to their family or to their child, and I think that's the hardest thing to see is watching that parent guilt that's saying, I gave this to my child, and now they're going to have to deal with this for the rest of their life.
Yep.
And there's nothing you can say to anybody to relieve.
And the worst thing is when you have those people that are like, how irresponsible of you. I'm like, well, I didn't know I had that protein. My wife knew she had the gene, but when they scanned, because my son's actually a IVF child. So they actually scanned for like the 60 most common proteins. Turns out mine's not one of the 60 most common proteins. Mine's one that's really, really rare. That they would never have actually scanned for because it was way too expensive. And I had to let them know. I was like, yo, this is what I got, It was a Tri-Delta T, I think is what they called it. Something like that. I have to look it up. But yeah, it's super, super rare. And, it's one of the things where I'd have to pass that gene, that protein on, and my wife would have to pass the gene on. And we have 2 kids together. The first one does not have it. The second one does, unfortunately.
And that's something big about foundation. Like there's a foundation for what I have. There's a foundation for, I'm guessing there's a foundation for what your son has and stuff.
Yeah.
And we talk about this all the time. Is that the thing is everybody connects. Everybody wants to hang out with somebody you can relate with. So within these foundations, you have children, and at some point, these children are going to meet the other children, and they're going to want to go out on a date. They're going to, and this is going to end up being married, and then pretty soon you're breeding a.
Well,
nothing's going to stop love. Don't get me wrong.
Now, here's the thing, though: is with cystic fibrosis people, they have to actually avoid each other as if they all have the plague, because.
Well, that's kind of what we do at FH people too.
Well, no, but I mean, literally, they could kill each other. There's like a bacteria that could grow, like a culture in their throat, or that it's unique to each person. But if it gets passed on to another cystic fibrosis person, it's fatal. So, like what I said, they have to avoid each other like they have the plague. They have to. Their lives depend on it. They have the plague. Yeah, their lives depend on it. They can't associate like that. They can associate virtually, but they can't meet up. And like when you go into one of these allergists to deal with it, the allergist has to completely doff their PPEs, scrub, don new PPEs between every patient, just so they don't accidentally carry it over.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. It's like you don't even want to be in the same waiting room together. It's they try to schedule out so where there's no two people with CF in the building at the same time, just because.
Wow, I did not realize that.
Yeah, and that was one of the more terrifying things to learn about. You know what? We're definitely going to do an episode on this next season, I think, because I really need to open up and talk about it. This is supposed to be your show, not mine.
I'm trying to pull things out of my bag of tricks here, but cholesterol is cholesterol. I'm kind of running out of things.
Right. You know, it can always go about, okay, so the liver does this, about with cholesterol. And
I try not to get too deep in the weeds.
But yeah, does anybody have any questions? I mean, we're coming up on an hour and a half. That's a pretty good episode.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, here, let me throw out a question. Does your golf game help your cholesterol? I didn't know you're a golfer.
Well, you know what? That's funny that you say that, because when my doctor asks if I exercise, I say I don't get a cart, but I walk.
Hey, you know what? That's a lot of walking.
It's 5 miles.
Yep.
That is a lot of walking.
My watch, when my Apple Watch shows me I've walked anywhere between 5 and 6 miles, depending on how good I hit the ball.
At least you enjoy golf. See, to me, golf is nothing but a good walk spoiled.
I try to golf at least 3 times a week.
So I had a friend that in high school, he was planning on joining the Nike Tour and eventually go to PGA. And he wanted me to be his caddy because every time we went out and I went with him golfing, I would ask him so many questions that he would focus more on his game because they're all his game related. And he always wound up coming off of there with a 2 to 3 strokes less than when I'm not there. And he was a scratch golfer. You know, he was really, really good. But one of the challenges that I did with him was like, you know what? I got a challenge for you. For every 1 stroke that you have, I get 2 throws. Bet you we tie. And we did. Because at that age, I could hurl a ball. But yeah, it's a lot of walking. If that caddy too carrying the bag around, if you're carrying your bag, that's a lot of weight too. That's a hell of a lot of exercise.
It is. I mean, my golf game's kind of like my football game. I could have been pro, but I'm not good enough.
Well, in that regard, we could have been pro at everything.
That's right. Exactly. That's what my joke is. Is like I could have been a pro golfer. I just wasn't good enough.
I do have to say, I've seen, a few pictures of you when you're playing golf and everything like that. You always look incredibly happy to be out on the links. So.
I do. I love that play. I love it. And I, you know what? Even if I'm having a bad game, I'm usually out with friends, and that's what makes the difference.
You know what? If you ever get the chance, and you're in Northern California, the Mount Shasta Resort is one of the most beautiful golf courses you'll probably ever play on, and it's challenging. You do?
I have played that resort. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I remember. What's funny is that where it got built, it's actually really close to the sewer treatment plant. That used to be known as just just as that region was just known as the sewer ponds, and now it's a golf resort.
I think it's hole number 4. You can smell it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But at the same time, I mean, it is a beautiful course. I think it was Arnold Palmer that designed it, too.
Yeah, there's a place in Bend, Oregon that is amazing. And whoever designed that course, they deserve an award, because either if you're on the tee box or you're on the green, no matter what hole you're on, you have a view of some of the most amazing mountains in our country.
That's awesome.
It is, yeah.
And meanwhile, Kat's say that golf is a lovely walk spoiled by a little white ball. And then DeVern, I could be a good filmmaker, but I didn't put the effort. LOL. You know what? It's never too late to start to put in that effort.
You know, and I cuss that white ball all the time. I understand.
Yeah. I've been around enough people at golf to know, yeah. And you yell at the ball, although it's not the ball's fault that it's on the trajectory that it's on.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, the golf industry has it made, because all they got to do is tell you that this will help your game, and every guy will buy it.
That's funny.
The key to a golf sale is saying forgiveness. If once a club says it has forgiveness, you'll buy that thing for nothing. You don't matter what it pays.
Yeah, no, that's up there with fishing too, especially if it's like avid like bass fishermen. Whoo!
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, this will improve your strike rate. Done. Sold.
It's what the bass is looking for.
Yep. Now, of course, I'm thinking it's electrolytes. It's what plants crave. Please tell me you've seen Idiocracy.
I don't think I have.
Oh man! So, just really fast.
Do I have homework? Do I have homework now?
Yeah, it was by Mike Judge, the creator of Beavis and Butthead, Office Space, King of the Hill. Basically, what happened is that it's dumb people have more children than smart people. So eventually the world's average IQ just keeps plummeting and plummeting. And eventually it's the idiots that are running the world, and there are no smart people left. They just got bred out of existence. So this one guy who was literally exact average in every single way imaginable got stuck in like a cryo freeze, comes out of the cryo freeze, and is now the smartest person alive. And they can't grow crops because they're saying that crops use their energy drink. God, I'm trying to remember the name of it now. I had it and it just slipped my mind right when I was about to say it. But it's basically you water the crops with the energy drinks because it has electrolytes. That's what plants crave. And then when you're like, well, you're supposed to pour water on the plants. Like, you mean water like from the toilet? Yeah, no. So that's where that came from. Was this electrolytes is what plants crave.
I'll have to look that up.
It is a great, silly, slapsticky, dumb humor. It's awesome. And if you like Terry Crews, it's one of his best roles ever.
I'll have to look that up. That sounds hilarious.
It is. It was they call it the comedy that became a documentary. So, does anybody have any questions for Ray?
Absolutely, please. I mean, I'd love to have a couple of questions.
And this is actually another idea that I've been kicking around, is having our podcast do 2 parts, where we have one part where you present, and then another part like a day later with a Q&A. So that way people have time to think up questions. Because a lot of times that happens, like you're out, after the episode's over, you're laying in bed, it's like, oh, I should have asked this. Or, you're at work, oh, I should have asked that. So maybe in the future.
Well, you guys can reach out to me at any time. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And I understand this it's a lot to take in, and like I said, I still don't have a grasp on everything, but it's just I try to just share my story and my struggles, and it's a big world.
So here's a question for you then. When you were diagnosed, you were what, again, 14 or so?
14 when I first found out.
Did you ever at any point from that point forward want to have kids? I mean, I know you don't have any, but did you want any?
I've always wanted children. And my FH condition isn't what caused me not to have children. But just to make that clear. But no, I did. I would love nothing more than to have a family. It just wasn't in my deck of cards. I mean, just through timing and just life. It just never happened. And it's funny because people say, "Oh, you can still have kids," and you're right. We can adopt. And that's a funny thing when you tell people you can't have kids, they go, "Well, did you know you could adopt?" And I was like, "What? What's this adoption thing you talk about?"
What?
I've never heard of this before. What are you talking about?
What do you mean? You mean someone will give me a tiny human?
Where do these tiny humans come from? A factory?
So that's always.
Where do I sign up for the tiny humans? Sorry.
Wait, do I actually have to take care of them?
Wait. Do I have to pay for the tiny human?
So that's always been my joke when people say that. But no, it would have been. I would have loved nothing more than to have a family. But it's funny how fast life goes by. As by the time you think, okay, maybe we'll adopt, all of a sudden, pretty soon, that's 5 years past, and then whatever. And now people ask me, "Are you thinking about? You can still adopt?" And I'm like, thinking of adopt. I'm thinking of retirement. It's like I don't have college in my future.
Yeah, no. I
Shut up! My golf balls are my children now.
Yeah, it's like my kids. My last two, I had them in. God, I'm 43, so my last one was born when I was 40. Whew, man, I'm kind of scared because I'm like, man, I'm going to be almost 60 when he's 18, and I already have a kid that's going to be 26 this month. So,
and you're a granddad coming up, right?
Yeah, this month, as a matter of fact. And now Diverge talking about, wait, what's adoption? Is it a new thing at Walmart? Walmart adoption clinics because we want toothless babies.
Yeah, when people ask me like, "Well, it's not too late. You're still young." I'm like, "Still young?" I was like, "No." I was like, "I got a retirement plan." It's like,
yep.
It's like that thing could be taken up by a college plan.
It's like I may still be young, but trust me, my body is saying you're not young.
Oh gosh!
I took off sprinting.
What I hear all the time, and I mean this in no way to be negative toward my little brother, because I love Adam Dean more than anybody on this planet. I swear I do. But people will look at me, "Well, at least you have Adam." Yes, I understand. I have custody of my brother. It is not the same as adopting a child or having one of my own.
Exactly.
No, you're absolutely correct.
Exactly. Although if I ever heard someone say, "Oh, you could adopt," I'd probably just respond, "No way! Really?" I just act completely blown away by it.
The next time somebody tells me that, I'm going to be like, "All right, trot out the tiny human."
Sweet, I got to go. Where you going? The SPCA, that's where you get them, right? It's where you adopt all living things.
Well, that's my go-to thing. I just look at them very straight-faced and serious, and I say, "What is this adoption you talk about?"
Just look at him and be like, I've never seen a child at the SPCA for adoption. Don't you lie to me.
I went to town last week. There were no kids there.
Long, sad song commercial.
Whoa, Kat just blew my mind. She just said, "My dad has a friend who has 15-year-old twin girls. He and my dad are 86 years old."
Wow.
Wow, had kids at 71. I'm just going to put a big nope on that for me. I'm done.
I think we make it an award.
Seriously.
That's wow.
Kat, how on earth am I supposed to process that? That is wild.
You just drew every air out of the room. What just happened?
I mean, that is unreal. Having a kid at 71.
I'm out here trying to get through this podcast, and there's a 70-some-year-old out there having twins.
Right? Dude, you scored at 71. Props. But man.
Oh my gosh.
Kudos to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Dude, I hope
I can't imagine that.
I'm just thinking, man, having that kind of game at 71, but then also having to have kids again. Whew. At that point, I might be a great grandparent. So
I'm gonna have the game. I just don't know that I have the works.
Start using the little blood pressure ball for the pump.
Sorry, maybe that was too far for the podcast.
No. Okay, so my dad loves intellectual humor and stuff that's really not PC, and my mom loves shock humor, and I love to blend it all together. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I've been I have some friends that loved hanging out with me after they saw me drop a shock humor, like an intelligent shock humor joke on someone, and they got to see the reaction that I enjoyed, what I usually saw on them, and then they were like, so that's why you do it. I'm like, yeah, look at their face. They don't know what to think.
I can't count the number of times I have spontaneously cleaned my sinuses because of you.
Hey, I got you twice with that moist mayonnaise meme.
Yes, you did. Oh my God. That was twice in one night, Eric.
Yep. There was a guy that was driving around town, and he had a big decal stickers thing like on his window that said moist mayonnaise. I'm like, what the hell? So I had to take a picture of it, and then I took that, the meme, the lady, the moist lady, and put that right underneath it and posted that.
Oh, my big thing is, I told you I work for the state, and I do building codes and stuff. And when somebody comes in and asks me a question, if they repeat the question, I usually smack my hand down on the desk and I say, I'm asking the questions here.
Oh, that's great. It's like, I get that you're trying to answer a question with a question, but when you're answering it with the same question...
Yeah, that's right. I'm asking the questions.
And DeVern just called out Bexy for name-dropping me again.
Again. I'm horrible.
That's all right. Maybe I'll name-drop you, Backseat Bex.
Go ahead. I told you, I'm only in the back seat reading books.
Long story. Not going to go into that now. But it doesn't seem like anyone has any questions here. Oh, Kat was saying he thinks that the wife is 30 years younger. But still, that's still...
Hey, props to that dude for pulling a woman 30 years younger than him.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, the question is, does he have money, and is she gold digging?
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh. See, I was all up in my happy...
Oh, so...
Well, look, they found love phase, and you're all, she's a gold digger.
Hey, inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah. Love has no boundaries.
Well, once you start passing the human to other things, that's a boundary. And also, 18 is a boundary.
There are some boundaries.
I guess you are right. There are boundaries. Yeah. I didn't think of that.
Although, I happen to know, I don't know why I know this, but I know that Washington's age of consent is 16.
Damn.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, really? I mean, I look back at 18-year-olds and I'm just like, no, they don't know anything about the world. Why in the hell would I go to a 16? Holy crap!
I don't even follow people that look like they could be my daughter on Twitter.
Yeah, no, I get that. Hell, I have a hard enough time trying to go for anybody that's younger than my sister. My sister and I are only 3.5 years apart, but I got chased by so many of her friends, it caused a stigma for me.
Oh, goodness. Well, I hope the no question thing wasn't meaning that I hope that means that I was very articulate and not very boring.
No, we got some good comments in there. I would have to say
I don't think anybody found you boring at all.
No.
Thank you.
And the cat was just saying that he does have money. They work together. Both are dental doctors.
Oh.
And then DeVern gave up his dating age range, 19 through 40.
Oh, that's very lip and cheek.
DeVern goes cougar hunting.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. So, again, thank you very much for coming on the show. Like I said, told you, it's pretty free form. We're pretty chill. You know, we share information and we go on tangents. It happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is going to be the last call for questions. Cats all know we're still here. I see Kat and Deverne and Bexy a lot. I think we lost Brandy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, you guys can reach out. If anything comes in, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer or come back on or whatever. I'm pretty open.
Fantastic. Yeah, we haven't had... I don't think we've had anyone come back yet. We had one person that was supposed to come back, but they got into a really bad car accident, and their episode was supposed to happen right after they got released from the hospital. I actually just talked to them today, and they have some positive things going on in their lives, and they might be coming on soon to talk about it. Because,
Nice.
when they were on the first time, they were talking about how they escaped. Basically, it was a Christian cult that they were in. And they got the vote by our listeners saying, this is who we want you to bring back. And she was going to go into more detail about it. Because, I mean, we hit the 45-minute mark and she had just barely finished her story. And that was our hard limit at the time. You know, I couldn't record any further. But now that we have up to 3 hours, we were going to bring her back for that. But I think we're going to talk about her accidents. It was bad. It was really bad. She's very lucky to be alive. Yeah, she lost her arm. I'll just put it that way.
Wow.
Question to Vern. I mean, do I have questions? I mean, I wish, but I don't got anything in my brain here that's about the topic. No, I mean, seriously, there's still a lot to process. I mean, again, had no idea that this condition existed. I definitely want to take a look at my family and see if maybe, it runs in my family, and I just happened to dodge a bullet on that one. I mean, I got tagged with the diabetes one, so... I basically said that when I was born into a loaded gun.
That's exactly what I felt like.
Yes.
Wow.
And Kat just said, thank you, Ray. It was very interesting, and you're a good speaker.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, running off on a tangent again, I'm not saying that I have experience in this, but have you done a PTSD episode?
Yeah, actually we have. I mean, it wasn't...
that's awesome.
Yeah. We've had a couple.
We've touched on quite a few subjects, actually.
And we actually are planning on having someone talk about PTSD from the military. Actually, we have a couple of those lined up.
Yeah.
But
I haven't dealt with it from that end, but I've dealt on a different end. I was at work one time and found my coworker dead. And it's amazing what that will. I was never I didn't understand it, so I guess I never indulged myself into it. But after going through it, I didn't go through it anything like what a military person had gone through. But I dealt with it for about 8 weeks, and it's amazing. I could not believe. It makes me really open my eyes to people who are dealing with something similar.
Yeah, and one of the PTSD episodes that we had.
Non-combat related PTSD.
Yep. Two of the people that I know that were on the show that touch about PTSD, one escaped an abusive relationship, and they talked about their life after the fact, and one, his father repeatedly raped him from basically the age of 4 until about 10.
Wow.
Yeah, so, yeah, we've had a few with PTSD. We've also had, antisocial personality disorder. We've had some pretty interesting people on the show.
That's amazing. Yeah.
This is our 3rd season.
Yep.
So yeah, we've gotten a lot of really, really interesting people, really cool people to talk to.
Yeah, this podcast started out, just blessed with amazing subjects right off the bat. And for a while there, it started looking like we'd never be able to get like the run-of-the-mill depression, run-of-the-mill bipolar, run-of-the-mill anxiety kind of people on, but we have since. But like that first season or two, it was just extraordinary story after extraordinary story after extraordinary story.
Including your own.
I wouldn't call it that extraordinary, but thank you.
Everybody's story is unique, and it'll touch somebody in some way, no matter what it is.
Exactly. And
I do think I do have to say one thing. This is the first podcast I haven't cried on.
What the hell?
This is the first episode that I have not cried.
I mean, that's a good thing, but at the same time, what the hell? You're breaking from tradition.
I guess I won't be back.
Yeah. Well, there goes your chances of ever coming back.
No, and we can branch back to how we started. It's like there are some mental ends of what I've dealt with, and I didn't touch on a lot of those. I like we talked about in the beginning, I kind of caught off guard, but you know what? Not in a bad way at all. I've shared this story so many times in one way, and to flip that overnight was just a little bit. It was kind of difficult.
I'm sure. I mean, I got to assume that even though you know that CT count was 0, you probably still have that fear of just because it's 0 doesn't mean that I'm not still going to not have a heart attack.
Oh no, it's dead set in my brain that I'm going to have a heart attack. I mean, there's no way around it.
I mean, have you reconciled with that? I mean, it sounds like you have.
I have, and that's just. I mean, I've come to the conclusion that that's just. I mean, that's how my mom. Well, my mom did it in surgery. My grandma. Actually, I didn't share this, but my grandmother, when she had her heart attack, she was in the hospital for the flu, and had a massive heart attack and died.
Whoa!
She was hooked up to heart machine. She was there in the hospital. That's how quick this can happen.
Yeah, I mean,
that's terrifying.
Yeah, I actually went to visit her. We all went up there, said hi, because my dad said, your grandma's in the hospital. Go up there and see her so she doesn't think you forgot about her while she's in the hospital. So I went up there, I said hi, love you. And then I went back home, and my house was where I lived growing up, was only one or two blocks from the hospital. So I went home, and when I got home, there was a phone call from my aunt. My aunt called and told everybody to get to the hospital. She had a massive heart attack, and she was on life support for 2 days and passed away.
So you might have been the last visitor that she ever remembered.
My aunt was up there still, but
okay.
Yeah, we were the last visitors that were there. Yeah.
Whereas, like on my mom's side, my mom being the oldest of 3, the story I was told, I haven't verified it, but I believe it. I don't know why they wouldn't tell me the truth. My grandfather's first heart attack was teaching my mom how to drive.
Oh.
Why my mom continued driving, I don't know. My mom's pretty tough. But yeah, no, my grandfather went through multiple bypass surgeries, and he was number 1 on the state and nation for donation, to receive a donor heart. And he was staying at a hospital in the Bay Area, and he wound up dying on the operating table when they tried to put an internal pump and defibrillator on him.
Wow.
It was only supposed to be like a 1-hour procedure. It went on for like 6 hours, and basically the way the doctor put it was, I mean, the cause of death, every organ in his body, pretty much in alphabetical order, just started shutting down. Every time they get one organ back up and running, another one would fail. It was just systemic organ failure, and eventually, he was gone.
Yeah. I'd encourage you to just look at family history and see because you may have it like what I was telling you about, and you don't know about it.
Yeah. And and also the middle son. No, yeah, it was the middle son. He died of a heart attack as well, not too long ago. Wow, actually, it's been about 10 years now. Holy crap! Time flies.
Yeah, I would strongly encourage you to look through family history. Just and what's funny is when people go to the doctor for this, the doctor just says, "Here's some medication, take it," and they don't tell other family members, but then they end up having a heart attack, and they're like, "Boy, that's the 4th person in our family that died of a heart attack," and that's just kind of how it goes. No one shares their medical stuff when it could actually be a genetic condition.
Yeah, no, there's definitely been heart conditions have been a major problem. Like, I mean, my entire life, before I was even born, my grandpa already had a heart attack. So my entire life was always, be careful around your grandfather. Don't scare him. Don't make him too angry. Although he was like the most mellow, chill guy that you would have ever have met, which I found out after the fact was a 180 from what he was before I was born. Like the day I was born, he became this amazing person. he wanted to be a role model grandfather.
That's awesome.
But before that, he was just an ass. After that, he became a pillar of the community.
That sounds like my dad, but he never changed.
The first part, not the second.
Exactly. No, I'm serious. He's still an ass.
And actually, what's kind of funny is that my dad, even though it's opposite side of the family, my dad, he did the same thing. Like, he and I, we did not get along at all. And it wasn't until after I'd graduated high school and moved out, there were some instances, some things that happened in the family, and my dad just did a 180 and became like the greatest dad. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, I actually had him as my best man at my first wedding. Unfortunately, he didn't want to do it at the second wedding either. So, but he did the first wedding.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I hope I was enlightening and at least a little bit funny.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
He had us cracking up. I mean, seriously.
Oh.
So yeah, again, thank you very much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. Thank you to everyone that's listening, live and in the chat room. Thank you very much for participating. For those that are listening live and not participating in the chat, hey, get in the chat room. Come on, guys. It's a free account. You're not going to get spammed by Sprecher. They're not going to steal your information. Join the chat. But definitely thank you to everyone that helps us out and supports us. Ray, thank you so much for sharing your personal story and a glimpse of your life. And yeah, we're going to be back next week.
Well, absolutely. I really enjoyed it, and I had a great time. I love the laughs. I love sharing, and I would love, if anything ever comes up again and you would like my opinion, please get a hold of me.
Will do. And definitely, if you haven't followed us on the Facebook page, go ahead and do so. And then go ahead and drop those diagrams on your episode. The link's already there, just so you know. It put the link there the moment I started this episode.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
All right, yeah. And once again, my name is E. Come on, Bex.
I'm Bexy.
And we'll see you guys next week.